Well, some guests, they're just hard to track down because they're multimedia personalities. They're running Brownie's podcast. They're working for Fox. They're doing breakfast radio. They're signing autographs when you see them at the Gabba. So you have to go through their people. And I went through people after people after people. And finally, after 9 years of waiting for this moment,
Yes.
John O'Brien waltzes into the Howie Games studio. How are you, great man?
Great to be here, Howie. Love working with you, but nice to be on your podcast. Finally.
It's taken a while.
I got a park too.
Did you? It's hard here,
eventually
isn't
I got a park. I drove around about 15 times. So I'm going, surely Howie's podcast has a park for the...
So we determine it by level of success.
Yeah.
So, if you're a four-time,
Yeah.
straight underneath.
Oh, yes.
If you're an Australian Test cricketer, straight underneath. If you're an Olympic athlete, straight underneath. If you're a three-time Premiership player without a brown load,
Just below the
you
bar.
have to park on the street, Guru.
If only I went for the cricket route.
That's right.
Yeah, if only I went down there, opened the bowling for Australia on Boxing Day,
You'd be straight underneath.
which was my childhood dream. I would have walked straight in it.
In fact, as an Australian opening bowler, if you got 300 Test wickets, we'd probably come pick you up. But
Actually,
that's not the way
Joe.
it works. Whenever I see you, I always think to myself, this is a strange thing to say, but you have a much slighter figure than I expect. So you are narrow through the waist, John
Yes,
O'Brien, and I
yes.
look at you and I look at the size you were when you played footy, which I saw at one point it listed you as 105 kilos playing footy. Is that true?
Yes.
So
yes.
what's
that
your-
was my playing weight.
So what's your body weight now?
I'm about 97, 98 kilos.
Right. So where I'm getting to with
yeah.
this is you stay pretty fit, yeah?
Yeah, I do. Well, I think I learned not a lesson, but I did the New York Marathon in 2019.
Yes.
And I was up around about 110 kilos. And
110?
Yeah, and I went and saw a running coach to write the program. And he said, mate, I can write you the best program in the world, but you need to drop about 15 kilos.
Right.
I was like, shit, that's
So
going to be
there's
hard
not
work.
many marathon runners that come in at 110
Exactly
kilos.
right. He said, it's not ideal.
Your average Kenyan's not 110
Yeah,
kilos.
so and I'd been watching Kipchoge and all that sort of stuff, sort of motivated me. So he goes, mate,
He's half your weight.
exactly, best program in the world's not going to work. So I shed the kilos. So I got down to 94 kilos.
Through exercise or diet or both?
Through exercise. I didn't eat. I went on one of those, what's it called, the intermittent fasting for the 4 months leading it. Off the drink, which I love a beer, but
So intermittent fasting and no beer, you would have been hard to live with.
it was hard work. So
been hard to
and
live
trained without anything. I trained with a black coffee, a bit of MCT oil, and some butter. Just zipped up in the morning,
Right.
And then I'd go out and train, and then first meal I'd have was lunchtime. I managed to drop the 15 kilos. And now I'd be hopeless on the footy field. I wouldn't be able to stand up. I'd get smashed. But I actually felt really good. So since then, I've tried to keep the weight off. And I don't need the weight, mate. I'm only wrestling my 12-year-old son at home. And although he's starting to get over the top of me. But so all the weight's gone out of me upper body, I guess. Yeah.
The marathon, though, from talking to a couple of people, it wasn't the easiest experience for you, the New York Marathon.
No, it wasn't. It was. I was very proud of my effort. So,
as you should be.
I got a great experience. Like, if I could recommend doing something, or if you're that way inclined, do a marathon. There's between 3 and 4 million people lining the streets in 2019 in New York, and it was a beautiful day. And I'd put my name on my chest, Browny. So every time you run along, everyone's going, "Go Browny, keep going Browny." And it was just a great experience. So I sort of had the chest pumped out, but I did that, and it was just a really, really enjoyable thing. So I do keep fit because of it. But
Was that, you had a blow up, did you? Or not,
I
in the
blew my
marathon?
ass out. I blew my ass out, so for want of a better term.
How does one technically do that in a marathon?
I had a puncture. It's fair. It's like a puncture in the tyre. And so I got down and sort of got towards the end. I thought, geez, I'm not feeling great. And fair to say, when I got home, actually they lost me. I got to the finish line, and my wife Kylie and a few of the crew lost me. So then I was walking around like a lost little child on the streets of New York. And eventually they found me after about an hour, and by that stage I was in pretty ordinary shape. So
what had happened?
I had the blood running down my legs, and something burst something burst in my tailpipe. It's fair to say.
How far in? How far
I reckon
in?
about 10 k's to go.
Right.
So I was actually laughing. I was with a mate last night.
Not a laughing matter guru.
I was actually with Pangy last night because
Right.
Pangy was there with me, and he said, remember that New York trip? He said, I can't believe the double and triple tequilas you were having as painkillers to try and get through those last couple of days in New York. And then we landed. We had to go straight to the radio station, do Brekkie Radio. Afterwards, I went and had an appointment with the, what do you call him, the butt surgeon?
Yeah,
And,
that's good enough for me.
he said, mate, have you ever had anything for breakfast? I said, no, not really. I'm not feeling up to it at the moment. He goes, good, because he said you'll be on the table in about 4 hours' time.
Really?
So
This is after flying home,
after flying home,
having tequila, doing breakfast radio.
That's right. And then I had a bit of surgery to fix up the tailpipe.
So we're all good now.
We're all good. I'll tell you what, though, those first couple of times you go to the toilet, it was like jumping out of an aeroplane without a parachute. As you start to lower yourself onto the throne, mate, I don't want to get too graphic about this.
You sort of have.
But I don't recommend, if you're going to do a marathon and that's going to occur, stop. Stop and start walking.
You mentioned the podcast. So how are you enjoying the podcast experience, Brownies? Podcast. People need to listen to it. It's you, it's Campbell, it's all sorts of people along the way. But it has become a really competitive marketplace. Absolutely. You guys have been running for a while now, but every day there's a new podcast. So there's more choice of people to listen to.
There's a lot out there. I think we're super podcasters, Australia, we're known as.
Yeah.
So we've got a high ratio, I think, of podcast to population. So it's good fun, though. We did it out of working the radio, and myself, one of the producers, Dino, Pangy was doing it with us for a little while. Bucks comes in and fills in with Campbell, and always been great mates with Campbell Brown, who you would have loved from Hawthorn days, been a Hawthorn supporter. So it's just a bit of fun, and we don't take it too serious. It's a bit of a lighter look at the footy week. But I actually enjoy doing the audio stuff. We do TV and love doing TV, but did radio there for quite a while, and that's always good fun. It's a little bit more irreverent, isn't it? A little bit looser than TV.
It is. Even the way you approach it in sport, like the way you call footy on the radio is very different to the way you call it on the telly.
Well, obviously, how do you go with that? Because you're a play-by-play caller.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm just special comments, so I just chime in. But there's no doubt your tone, like all of his, tone is different on TV compared to radio, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But on cricket as well, I only slip into radio mode when the game starts to drift off and you think, which you rarely think, but sometimes you think we need to try and add a little bit. Like the other day in that Carlton-Essendon game last Thursday night, you're calling it as you're calling a game of footy, and then there's nothing happening. There's no atmosphere. Neither team can play finals. So you start doing Triple M style, talking about the size of Wiedering's quads, just to try and liven things up a bit. Right. But if you go too far down that path, you piss the audience off. So I've learnt, Brownie, as I'm sure you have in media, please yourself, please your boss, because you can't aim to please everyone, because people will love you and people will hate you, no matter what you say.
Absolutely. You can't please everyone. Just do your best, be authentic, and try not to get the little message from the producer going, righto, move on, get back to the game.
Which you get.
Well, that's right. You do. I must admit, the first time, one of the early days of calling, and I was still playing, and sometimes you see the guys that are dip their toe in the commentary as specials, and you get invited along to be a special comments man. Yep. And I did a couple with BT early days, and I fell for the scones at the MCG. And the game was getting a bit boring, and then BT started the narrative of how many scones I was up to, because the scones at the MCG are unbelievable. They're like your grandma's.
Cream.
With the jam and cream. And this game was terrible. I think it was about 80 points. Well, I reckon I got through 15 scones in the second half. So yes, it can be a little bit challenging to not to drift off with an ordinary game.
You mentioned being authentic. I had the pleasure of doing with you. So this is a Tuesday, directly after the Sunday night where Brisbane beat Hawthorn, much to your delight. And walking in and around the Gabba with you, everyone's just, g'day, Brownie. How you going, Brownie? What's going on, Brownie? And you say g'day to everyone. But I think you are a much-loved figure due to your authenticity. And a bit like Warnie, people could relate to Warnie, and I think they relate really well to you. Knockabout, country Victoria, plays footy, has a beer, says g'day to everyone. There's a lot of love for you. Obviously, there is at the Gabba, but in general, and I think it's because people see you as really authentic. You are who you are.
Well, it's yeah, I do appreciate the Gabba. Like they're always warm there. You know, we had great times. I love getting up there with Lynchy and you know, and they've been retired 10 years now. Lynchy's probably been nearly 20 years. So, but they still come up and say good day. But they sort of feel part of the family. And I go back probably. You know, I was 17 years old, 17 turning 18, moving from a small country town to the big smoke of Vegas.
Yeah.
And Vegas was like a real big country town back then. So not Vegas, Brisbane. And it was just, you know, I suppose it had that sort of feel to it, you know, so I could sort of relate to that way of life up there and very quickly things happened, you know, but it still felt like I won a premiership at 19, but it still felt like I was the kid from Warrnambool, and you're just going about your business and doing the same thing, you know, and you weren't put up on a pedestal up in Queensland. You know, it wasn't, certainly rugby league was the main thing. Cricket's huge. But we certainly got AFL to become a mainstream sport. But it was never, you know, like I suppose it is in Melbourne where it's the guys are put on a pedestal every day. So, and that's what I noticed with, you know, Michael Voss and Justin Lepich and the Scott brothers and Nigel Lappin, like superstars of our game.
Yeah.
They were just knockabout family guys, just everyday fellas that just walked around the street and did everything that everyone else does. And I suppose that's just the way we were. And you learn and you looked up to those guys, and I guess naturally that's just the approach you take. So I guess a part of it comes from that, and obviously a big part of it comes from your upbringing.
So talk about upbringing. Tell me about the Browns, a little bit of history of the Browns before they get to you. Farmers?
Well, my dad grew up on a dairy farm in the Otways, rough, tough country, up around Lavis Hill, milking about 400 cows. So he was getting dragged out of bed at the age of 10, 12 years old at 5 o'clock in the morning in the Otways.
Fresh up there.
Fresh up there. Mum grew up on a dairy farm in between Warrnambool and Port Fairy. So, and Dad eventually went to play for Fitzroy. So,
what's your dad's name?
Brian. So Brian Brown,
not
the actor, not Coughlin's Law from Cocktails.
Cocktails, one of the great films.
I tell you what, it does pass every now and again. And a few times in radio, we interviewed the Brian Brown, and Brian Brown used to always say, hey, Browny, make sure you say good day to the old man for me. But it's Brian with an I. He said Wise, Brian's the Brian with a Y is the actor. But anyway, he went to Fitzroy. And so, yeah, long story short, eventually that's obviously how I played for Brisbane, because I was a father-son. Dad played 51 games. Back then it was 50 games to qualify.
So only just qualified?
By a game. But Dad met Mum through his teammate was Noel Muggerman, who's my uncle now. And Dad met Mum at the aftermatch one day after playing on Lee Matthews. And it was one of the...
In a Fitzroy game. He was playing on Lethal.
He used to play on Lethal.
And then he met your mum.
Met your mum.
So your dad played on Lee Matthews, who became the biggest figure in your career.
And got votes in the Brownlow medal that day.
Have you told Lee this?
I have. Now,
does he remember it or not?
I don't think he was that too impressed, Lee. So he wasn't that happy. So, yeah, not sure about that. He wasn't sure. I think he would have gone back and checked the records. But fair to say that I'm lucky Dad played well that day. Otherwise, I might be sitting here. So Mum was obviously clearly impressed by this young blonde fella from the Otways that played well, and thought, geez, I'd take a liking to him. And that's how it all started. So
did you grow up on a farm or in Warrnambool itself?
We were sort of in when Dad retired, I finished up at Fitzroy and then a little bit at Essendon, went to Colac, then Warrnambool, and so we're never on the farm there. But at times we lived there for a few years. We lived on my grandfather, one of the grandfather's properties. We had a house there. And so I essentially grew up working on the farm, and it was just fantastic. So,
what type of stuff were you doing?
There was dairy and beef, and carrot farming, carrot and a little bit of spuds.
What's the key to growing carrots?
Good rainfall, which you get plenty of good rainfall down there in southern Victoria. Obviously, some decent heat. and bloody hard work. So I spent.
Eat a lot of carrots?
Eat a lot of carrots, mate. You'd be full. You'd come home feeling sick at the end of a shift. Tell you what, though, I got bloody strong because
strong.
These country strong was 20-kilo bags. So you start off as a young man and you had to weigh them, tie them, and throw them on the pallet. So early days.
This is the carrots.
That was the carrots. Early days was 20 kilos, and then eventually you graduated to you'd watch the older blokes in the shed where they get packed. Eventually, if you got to the stage where you could carry a bag in each hand,
then
a plastic bag, you knew you were in. So, but I look back and I reckon I had pretty good strength, country strength,
strong,
carrying those bloody bags of carrots. And I tell you what, it was as boring as all hell, but it was hard work, and eventually it'd fall into biting half the carrot and then throwing it at your cousins or your uncles, and then there'd be a massive war break out in the carrot shed where there'd be there'd be carrots, half-eaten carrots flying around the shed left, right and centre. Nearly took a couple of eyes out, and that was good. And then my uncle raced greyhounds, and it was a big operation.
Yeah, so this is a great passion of yours. We touched on this on the player profile last week, but tell me about you and greyhounds and your uncle and trips around the place. I can see you smiling about it now.
Well, that was my upbringing. So usually every Monday night, my uncle would pick me up from school because we were 3 hours from Melbourne. And I'd get out of school and Mum would go, oh, sure, you can leave. She'd write the note for me. Say, Uncle, I'd come past about 1 o'clock every Monday arvo, off to Olympic Park. Unbelievable. That's where the Melbourne Storm now plays. So most of my Monday nights were spent at Olympic Park. And
what was your job?
So my job was to put the dogs in the boxes, which I took with great pride.
Do the dogs have names?
Absolutely. Well, I got kennel names, and one of the great.
So they have a kennel name and a racing name.
And a racing name.
Okay.
One of my great memories, and we won a Group 1 this night with a dog called Rich Currency at Olympic Park.
And what was his kennel name?
I can't remember Rich Currency's, but we had a dog 2 races earlier called My Mate Teddy.
Yeah.
And My Mate Teddy was a real character. A couple of times he broke out of the kennels and I got into the dog food before races, and the dogs get weighed before races. So one time he didn't make weight because he was carbo loading. We got into the race and didn't make weight. Fortunate enough, this night he hadn't broke out of his pen, and he was racing at Olympic Park, My Mate Teddy, and 2 races later we had that Rich Currency in the Group 1. Well, that was the night that the great E.J. Whitten was presenting the trophy for the Group 1. So My Mate Teddy won. And 2 races later, Rich Currency won the Group 1. Well, there he is, My Mate Teddy on stage. He presented the trophy and goes, well, I tell you what, he just come across the road from State of Origin training.
Teddy had.
MCG. He was the chairman of selectors back in those days. It must have been about 91, 92 before he passed away. And he said, geez, I wish I was here a couple of races earlier because I would have put my house on My Mate Teddy. He said that during the presentation speech. And then after the race, after we got presented with the trophy, they said, rightio, the connections, come up and have dinner in the committee room with the great E.J. Whitten. So I was sitting with Teddy. I would have been 11 or 12. I sat with Teddy Whitten, had dinner in the committee room with him, and I still remember the handshake. And he sat there and, how you going, son? I said, I just want to play for Victoria. I want to play VFL, AFL. And, you'll be right, son, and the scrub on the head. Mate, it was one of my greatest memories and most vivid memories there at Olympic Park as a 12-year-old. So great times. Eventually, I let out a Warrnambool Cup winner one night. Had to go out as a 14-year-old. Another Currency. Paid $13. It was paying $13.
Right.
And
are you allowed to bet on your own dogs?
You are allowed to bet on your own dogs. And my uncle used to pay me in cash.
Right.
And he paid me $50 for my week's work, which I thought was a lot of money back then. Yeah. But I reckon it was probably child slave labour, $50 for the week. And I said, $50. Said, do you reckon you can put $50 on another Currency?
So you let it ride?
I let it ride, 13-1, and I had to get dressed up as a 14-year-old. So all the handlers, as we're called, the 8 handlers for the race, we had to be fitted for tuxedos and a bow tie. Yeah, mate. I had pretty crooked teeth back then. I had the braces, I had pimples all over me, and I had the tuxedo, the thing, and you wouldn't believe this bloody dog comes out of box 7, another Currency, and wins the race.
So what's that for you? That's $650.
Yeah. So it's fair to say the next day at school, I was the king of the tuck shop. What do you want, kids? I was the most popular. I'd never been more popular to the opposite sex in all my life. So.
There's a lesson to be learnt there.
That's right. So, so it was just great times.
Footy.
Yeah.
What's the team and what age is the first team you played footy for from your memory?
Organised games wasn't actually until 12 years old.
12.
But I grew up following Dad around. Dad was a football coach from as far back as I can remember.
So were you in the rooms with him?
Tuesday, Thursday nights, Saturdays, obviously the games.
So you'd sit there and watch the pre-gamer and stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
What are your memories of that?
Loved it, and Dad was he was I suppose, fire and brimstone at times. He's inspirational, some of the speeches and the Colac theme song was legendary. They used to have the Colac theme song. He coached them to a premiership and then he went to Koroyd. So that was the biggest or most important part of my development as a footballer because you had a foot in your hands the whole time and great characters. You learnt the locker room from a young age. I remember as a kid getting locked in the lockers all the time.
In the actual
in the locker, I'd be banging, the old metal lockers. Let me out. So they terrorised me, those boys. But
that's the pies and the soft drink and the smell of Denka rub and that's proper footy.
It was just unbelievable. And Dad just had the 40-year reunion for the legendary 1985 bloodbath when Colac won against South Warrnambool, Colac Craiglake back then, against South Warrnambool, and quite a few ex-league footballers, Stephen Theodore, who played in the 1966 Premiership for St Kilda, he was playing with Dad, a lot of talented players back in the 80s, and 80s grand finals in the country. It felt like there was 50,000 people there.
Absolutely.
And I've seen the footage of it in huge crowds. And this was a brutal game of football, the 85 bloodbath. So things that stand out as a kid that there was a guy called Mark Butcher Robinson. His nickname was Butcher, and he was 19 years old, playing beside Dad. He was a halfback flanker. He had his jaw broken in the first 15 minutes of the game, and a massive all-in brawl erupted. And so this kid stayed out in the field at the age of 19 years old, stayed out and played the whole game.
The rest of the game.
With a broken jaw, and I've seen footage of it. And on the way home afterwards, they dropped him into the Colac Hospital to get his jaw wired up. And things like that stand out as a kid. Now I'm only 3 or 4 years old, but I talked to Dad about it, and Dad goes, that's still the most courageous thing he's ever seen on a sporting field. And he would just yell out to him, how you going, Butcher? And Butcher just put his hand up because he couldn't talk. And so things like that sort of stand out.
And that lives on in stories down the generations at local footy clubs.
Well, that's right. So they have the huge reunion back at Colac a few weeks ago. And Butcher Robinson's still a legend in the town.
Because of what he did.
40 years later, things like that. So
can he still talk?
Yeah. He's all tidied up. Right. He's a bit rougher looking, but he was
Butcher Robinson.
Butcher Robinson. So anyway, he's people might ask, he's a butcher? No, he's a builder. He's a chippy.
So when you're in the under 12s, who do you start playing footy for?
So we moved to Perth for 18 months. When Dad finished playing football.
Oh, you moved to Perth?
Mum always wanted to be a midwife, and she was a nurse. She did a study at St Vincent's, but I came along a little bit unexpected, a little bit early, so she couldn't complete her midwifery studies. And at that stage, we wanted to go on a family adventure, and we went and studied. She went and studied in Perth for 12 months and started playing for the West Coast Juniors, which was no affiliation to West Coast Eagles, but St Kilda colours, and that's where I started to cut my teeth and play organised footy over there. And Dad was stay-at-home dad for that 12 months, but got a part-time job as the rehabilitation coach for Subiaco in the Waffle. And a lot of Subiaco's players were West Coast players. So I would go along with Dad on a Tuesday and Thursday night, and Brett Hetty was there, Dean Kemp was there, just to name a few of the legendary West Coast players, and they won a premiership that year for the West Coast Eagles. So, I was, from a pretty early age, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I wanted to play AFL footy. That was the dream.
But like many athletes, we'll talk about footy, but athletes are often good at different things and like talking about that. So a mate of mine, Tim Payne, Australian wicketkeeper, he would much prefer to talk about his football exploits and the fact that people compared to him, in his words, a young James Hird than he would about cricket. Now, you love your cricket.
Yeah.
So I can remember seeing you, was it bowling in makeshift nets on the Footy show?
It was.
In the
I
day?
bowled in the car park. I bowled to Ricky Ponting in the car
That
park
was
at
on the Footy show, wasn't
and
it?
I bowled, and we did a thing before the game that you used to do.
Yep.
On Channel 10.
Channel 10.
You did a live cross to us, and we would have Monday night cricket.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I think we must have organised it because that show was Saturday night, wasn't it? Before the game. We organised for it to be on the Saturday night. So when the boys came around, Timmy Notting was lightning quick.
Who's one of your best mates
One
now?
of your best
the
mates
bloke you
playing
call
footy.
Possum.
Possum.
Pointing him out to
Great
me at the
Possum.
Gabba the other night.
2-time premiership player, 3-time down low medalist on the footy trips. Magnificent performer. He was my roommate on the footy trips. Geez, we had some fun. But anyway, I can't go into too many of those stories. But he was a fast bowler, so we'd have the fully taped up tennis ball and we'd put the seam on it.
This is with your Brisbane Lions teammates.
Brisbane Lions teammates, and we would play at home. And the whole neighbourhood would come around and we would light it up. So we had lights.
While you were playing football?
While we're playing football. It was a big part of the week.
The community would come around.
They would come around and we'd have it light up. So we'd go to Bunnings or Mitre 10 and we'd have lights set up around. We'd take over the whole street. We had cords running out onto the middle of the road, lights set up.
Who else was playing in these affairs from Brisbane?
Well, Pikey turned up a couple of times.
Martin Pike.
We got Alistair Lynch one because Lynch was pretty quick back in the days. So Blackie lived around the corner. Blackie wasn't much good. But what you would have to do, you would have to bowl, you'd have to bat with no shirt on. And so that was part of the fun. So
with the taped-up ball?
The taped-up ball. So guys would leave with welts all around them, and especially when you're facing possum. And essentially it got shorter and shorter. Started at about 20 yards, ended up about 14
the old
yards.
Brett Lee. And were these matches sanctioned by the great Lee Matthews, or was this a bit off the books?
Gubby Allen knew about it, the GM of footy.
Right, but maybe not lethal.
He was selective in the information he passed up the chain to lethal. So,
but you were a promising junior cricketer. You're a left arm quick.
Well, I reckon if we had stayed in Perth, like I know I said, obviously Dad was helping rehab the guys at Subi and I was seeing those guys. But cricket was huge, especially in WA.
Yep.
And it felt like I could touch it. I met Dennis Lilly at the Wacker one day. He's just sitting there. I had a Grey Nichols bat in my hand and I saw him and I just yelled out, "There's Dennis Lilly." And I ran over there. He was minding his own business, got the Grey Nichols bat.
He signed it?
It was a scoop, the one scoop.
The single scooper?
The single scooper. He signed it. I had that for years. I can't believe I've lost it because that'd be a great one to have in the pool room. But, yes, by the time he'd finished signing, there was about 100 other kids who just gone, boom, bang. It was like bees to honeypot. So, but there, cricket was really big and played a fair bit of rep cricket growing up and I was offered a scholarship to one of the cricket schools. But we went back home to Victoria, so knocked back. So I reckon there's a reasonable chance, I reckon I would have followed the cricket pathway if I had stayed in Perth.
And then you would have got a car park here today.
Exactly right. I know. I would have got 300 test wickets. I was a left-arm fast bowler.
What was your best performance on a cricket field?
Best performance.
So you're a Mitchell Stark style operator.
I got 6 for 19 one day, including a hat-trick.
That's a good day.
Yeah. And the hat-trick too was the best hat-trick ball you can get. It was top of off stump. No, about middle of off stump and moving away slightly.
How old are you?
I would have been 15 years old.
Right, and you still remember the hat-trick ball?
In Division 1 cricket, senior cricket, we won the grand final. Still remember the hat-trick ball. And I remember who it was. Des Douglas from Koroit.
Oh, poor old Desi Douglas.
Got him on the way. So it was an unbelievable memory because I thought if you ever want to get a hat-trick ball, you want to bowl them, don't you?
Yeah, my word.
And it was good. Got one of the boys LB with a slower ball. And the other one was caught in the gully. So first one caught in the gully, second one LBW with a slower ball.
That first one,
and the third,
the pegs.
And the third one, the pegs. Desi, on your way.
You mentioned getting an autograph from Dennis Lilly. There's an urban myth floats around about you and a certain West Indian that you may have approached an autograph. Is there truth to this?
Well, the first game when we went to the Wacker, how good was the Wacker back in the day? Like it was scary to watch the ball, and it was a day nighter. Thank God it was a day nighter because you can't see the red balls in Test cricket there.
And mate, it's still from my experience, like I love calling the footy at Optus, but calling the cricket at Optus, it's a bit big and cavernous. Yeah. It's hot, takes a big crowd to fill it. Whereas the Wacker at 13 or 14,000, to me, that was a better cricket venue.
It was amazing, wasn't it? It was a mishmash, sort of put together.
Yeah.
Beside the trotting track at Gloucester Park across the road, where they did play some of their cricket.
They did,
didn't
the World Series.
World Series. But the first game, Dad, so we just moved over to Perth, Friday night at the Wacker. West Indies playing Pakistan.
One day.
Oh,
so it's the World Series Cup, and you've gone to the non-Australian game.
Non-Australian
game. So the
game.
Aussies were probably playing on the Sunday.
Well, they were, which we went to.
Right.
But Dad said, no, we can go on the Friday
So
night.
who we got? Pakistan, the West Indies.
Pakistan, West Indies. Still remember the bowling lineup. Wasim Akram, who I loved, and I wanted to be Wasim Akram because I was left-arm fast bowler. Waqar Yunus.
Oh, wow.
Akib Javed, and then Saqlain Mushtaq.
Oh, the little
good leggy.
Yeah.
Leg spinner. For the West Indies, Curtly Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, Ian Bishop, Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Patterson.
So I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. The keepers are standing on the 30-metre circle. Back before the days of having the dots, it was the full 30-metre circle.
Mate, I commentate games of cricket with Ian Bishop, and I'm still scared just sitting next to him because of watching what he would do.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
So the keepers...
Keepers standing back. It was Junior Murray.
Right, Junior Murray. So they've moved on from Dujon.
That's right.
Junior Murray.
I think Mohan Khan would have been the Pakistani in West End.
At the Wacker.
Inzamam ul Haq standing at first slip, standing about 5 metres behind the 30-metre circle. And then it comes to the tea break, and I thought, well, I've had some good luck with Dennis Lilly.
I'm going
to try again. So you go around, and back in those days, the way the dressing room was set up, it had like a bit of a balcony and a handrail, and you had to look up. And I saw Patrick Patterson there, and he's sort of eating a bowl of something, and then I went up there. I said, "G'day, Patrick. Can I have your order?" He goes, "Fuck off, man." He looks over, "Can't you see I'm eating ice cream?" And I've absolutely shit me pants. So the big man, I thought, Jesus, not only is he intimidating on the cricket pitch, he's intimidating if you go up and ask an autograph. So
for those listening,
yeah.
Google Patrick Patterson and Google Bharat Sundaresan, who is just a great man. He's written a series of articles about where Patrick is in life these days. Yeah. It's a fascinating read. So you come back to Victoria. At what age are you... I always say no time for modesty here, but this won't be a problem for you. At what age are you a very good footballer compared to your peers? Where people are, no, we're playing that brown kid this week.
Well, I played senior footy at 15.
At 15?
15, which was
for South
Warrnambool for the Roosters. A great club back there.
15?
So you're in the deep end. And I think it might have been my 5th or 6th game. I was playing against Koroit, which now that's where Mum and Dad moved to, and Dad still lives out there. And my uncle Noel, who played at Fitzroy and also Richmond, but he's obviously my uncle. He was the coach. He was the coach of Koroit, and I kicked 5 goals against my uncle. But the funny thing was that his wife, my auntie, she'd already booked me to do the babysitting that night. So I kicked 5, knocked over my uncle's team, and then I had to do the babysitting that night. And he didn't pay me. He still had the shits up. So I reckon after that night, I thought, actually, I reckon I might be half a chance to make it if I can keep going. So, but then, I suppose, I miss the Vic Country team at under 16s.
Why? Did they give you a reason, or you just don't get picked?
Well, you got to learn handball, son. And I was slow. The main reason was slow.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great athlete. I could run. I had a pretty good work rate, but I was pretty slow, and it was always hard to get over. It's hard to get quick.
Yeah.
That's one thing it's hard to bloody improve.
Yeah.
So me and Blackie always spent 15 years, really reluctantly turning up to the 20-metre sprint test every time we'd have to do it in the pre-season. But anyway, we that was the constant probably feedback I copped throughout, and I thought, well, shit, there's not much I can do about it. You can just try and improve your speed somewhat. But played for the Geelong Falcons in the representative football, who will zone do, so you used to have to drive 2 hours and go to play for the Falcons. Early days, I was pretty bloody ordinary, and I remember one day Brisbane Lions were there to watch me because we were playing in a curtain raise before Brisbane played Geelong.
Because your father-son.
Yeah, and word got back to me that recruiters were there, so I was pretty nervous. Didn't get a kick, or struggled to get a kick, and word got back to me that I think late in the last quarter I might have got a kick. And the recruiter for the Brisbane Lions turned to his mate and said, well, at least we know what footy kicks with. So when that got back to me, I thought...
And it took till the last quarter to figure that out,
shit.
whether you were left or right-footed.
I thought, shit, I'm not sure about my hopes for making AFL footy. It was a bit of a grind, but then the last year in under-18s, I did make the All-Australian team. But at that stage, Brisbane was sort of on the radar. Lee Matthews had come along and taken over, and Gubby Allen was the footy boss, and Gubby had played with Dad. They were really good mates at Fitzroy. So all of a sudden they started to get really interested. And that sort of coincided with probably my physical maturity. I started to develop as a footballer and improved a lot in that last 18 months, and they came along and offered me a father-son contract.
Did you meet Lee prior to this? Did they have a chat with you prior?
I met him briefly at the draft camp, when he just took over. So,
and did you tell him at that point that your old man had given him a bath, or you kept that?
No, I sort of held that back because at that stage there was no guarantees. But he was warm and jovial, and he was at that stage. I think he still had the tinted hair.
Yeah,
I thought, I can't believe what coaching. I didn't realise he tinted his hair because he had a black swathe of hair.
He sat in this very chair. And it took me an hour and 15 minutes before I had the nuts to ask him that question.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about, Howie. There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Well, he had a black swathe of hair, and I thought, geez, and then about 3 months into his coaching career at Brisbane, he's fully grey. I go, geez, coaching must be a tough coach, but I didn't realise he was tinting his hair. But anyway, so he was warm and jovial, and then Brisbane come along and said, we want to take you as father-son. Or we can go in the draft. And the only other club that was interested really was Hawthorn. And Hawthorn said, we'll take you as our 17-year-old pick, because back in those days you could take one 17-year-old per club.
Okay. And
they said, we'll take you. And then just before draft registration, where you sign the papers to register for the draft, they sort of got cold feet. And I was a bit nervous about it. Didn't really want to get left on a limb and enter the draft, but probably more than likely, I reckon I would have been taken if I had entered the draft. But Dad said to me, you know what, Lee Matthews has just taken over at the Brisbane Lions. He said, I reckon they're going places. Now, they just won the wooden spoon, so I thought, fucking hell, he's lost his marbles, the old boy.
Good analysis by old Brian.
But he said, you know what, Lee's clearly been put in charge by the AFL. They've got a lot of talent there. They played in a prelim 2 years earlier. He said, stay at home, finish year 12. He said, I reckon it'd be great for you to go and learn under one of the greatest of all time. And it was good advice. It was sage advice, wasn't it? So I stayed home, agreed to go to Brisbane, and 12 months later finished year 12 and then went and played for the Lions.
So what's your first memory of walking into Brisbane? How old are you?
Well, I did a pre-season, I was 17.
And what's that like as a 17-year-old walking in there?
It's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, be some tough men there too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, Michael Vossen, I suppose, Acker, and this is before, I suppose these names, though, are probably before they become legends.
Absolutely.
Because that's the end of 98. They just won a wooden spoon. Or won a wooden spoon, earned the wooden spoon. But Alistair Lynch was there.
He was the man.
And I love Lynchy. Right. And I remember as a kid going in to get Lynchy's autograph in the Fitzroy rooms, because Dad being next player, they let him in the rooms.
So you got Lynchy's autograph?
As a kid. And I thought, shit, I'm supposed to be playing with Lynchy. So I got over that pretty quickly. Lynchy's just such a great fellow. We work with him. He's so much fun.
You were in the rooms with him, with Chris Fagan. It's gone the full circle on Sunday night. It is smiling like the two happiest blokes in Brisbane.
I still pinch myself that, and I had that moment the other night when I'm sitting there with Lynchy going, I still can't believe that, back in probably 1990, 1991, I'm standing there with Alistair Lynch getting his autograph in the rooms as a Fitzroy player he was. And now I played in 3 premierships with him and I'm working with him.
Yeah.
So I still get that
That's cool.
sort of pinch me moment. And Lynchy's such a great fella. You know what he's like. He's just such a warm bloke fella, funny fella, tells great stories.
He does.
Doesn't take himself too seriously. He's obviously a big driver for the Tasmanian footy team. So, but then, those guys, the amount of talent I knew that was there on the list, I'd follow footy pretty closely. But the professionalism that I saw from Lee Matthews, like he was ruthless. Just little things like, they always had running sessions after the training session. So if you finish the training, the bulk of training might have gone for an hour and a half, the skills component. And then all the runners had to be lined up along the fence because then the hard running started.
Yep.
Craig Starcevich was the fitness coach. but everything was prim and proper, not a thing out of place with the uniforms. If you had to run inside and you'd forgot to bring your runners out and put them on the fence,
Trouble.
so there was trouble. So little things like that. And Lee was always big on tip of the iceberg. He said, so things like if you had 3 or 4 blokes left the runners inside, he would say, hey, boys, I always think, it's the tip of the iceberg. I see little things like that. He said, a little bit above the surface. He goes, I wonder what's going on below the surface. And he was big on those things. And that was I suppose that was a shake-up because being a kid, pretty relaxed from the country, I go, yeah, it's no bigger deal. But all those little things, they add up, don't they? And he brought a professionalism to not only the Lions, but I think a professionalism to the whole AFL system that they hadn't seen before. And it was a big part of our success and really drove us and quickly turned us around because they went from wooden spoon to prelim final in that first year under Lee.
Yeah.
And then I came and joined the club officially and it sort of just went on from there.
So we get to your first game.
Yeah.
Now, so I've got enormous respect for you. So I said to the great Tommy Dallard, righto, he was in at Fox, let's get a nice highlights package of Brownie's first game. So we go to the year 2000. You debut in round 5, win against Adelaide. So he's like, okay, I'll get a nice highlights package. We'll put some commentary and we'll highlight everything Brownie's done right. And then he sends me.
Sure does.
So I'm getting to it, Brownie. He sends me a link to AFL tables, which shows every game that everyone's ever played. And he's just like, there could be a slight issue here, Guru. Oh, what's the issue? He said, well, just look at Brownie's first game. So when I saw the numbers, I thought you must have been a sub. And then Tommy explained to me, there ain't no subs at this point. So let's just put the headphones on and let's look at the highlights package that Tommy's cut.
Here we go. Do I really need headphones?
This is your first game. This is the year 2000, round 5 versus Adelaide. Now, I must point out, no, let's just watch it first. Let's watch it first.
Justin Leppich is clear. A confident boosting run by Leppich back towards the centre. Again, Rashudo.
Well, that's a good start.
So we heard there, again, Rashudo get through to the handball. So you can take the headphones off now.
Is that it?
Well, so that's it. You tackle Mark Rashudo beautifully, brought him to ground. He got the hand pass away.
That's a minute into the game.
Well, and that's the thing. See, I thought you've obviously come on late. But the score here is Brisbane 0, Adelaide 0.
Yeah.
So it's not that Tommy hasn't done the job and cut the rest of your highlights package.
Yeah, he's had a day off, Tommy.
Well, no, he hasn't. Because when we have a look, in your debut, you made one tackle, which we just saw.
Yeah.
We couldn't find the free for or the free against.
Nah.
But there was, Brownie, there was no kicks.
That was it.
There was no airballs.
How many marks?
There was no marks. So tell me, did you do a hammy after that and go straight off the ground?
No, I played 3 quarters until Lee put me out of my misery at 3/4 time.
What happened?
Have a seat, young man. I just couldn't get near it. I felt like I was in quicksand. I was a beaten favourite. It was like a beaten favourite in the mounting yard before the game. I was sweating up profusely. This was my big moment. All the family had flown up from Warrnambool.
So they're all there to see this.
They're
amazing.
all there to see me.
I hope they weren't getting a beer and missed the tackle.
I know, because that would have been about 30 seconds in. I'm going, how good's this? I've just smashed Mark Rashudo. Mind you, I probably would have got 3 weeks for a sling tackle.
You would.
Then I got a free kick.
Yeah, because you've got a free 4.
I got a free 4, but
what did you do with it?
Because you
didn't kick it.
Finally, because Mark Stevens was playing on me, and I think Mark played for North Melbourne, then crossed over to Adelaide. And then the ball's gone over her head, and the ball kept bouncing. My teammate, Jared Malloy, who was playing with us at the time.
The big D9.
He played on. And I look to the distance, the umpire's calling advantage. I'm going, no!
That's why, because I was like, Tommy, you've missed a highlight because he's got a free 4, but you didn't touch the foot.
That was it.
You gave one away, though. You gave away a free kick as well.
That's right. It was not a memorable occasion, it's fair to say. Made even worse by the fact that when I went back to watch the game, which I'm not sure why I was watching the game, I was trying to work out whether I'd forgotten a couple of kicks or not. When it got to the commentary early on in the piece, and then it continued on for the day, the great Sandy Roberts, who we know and love, we worked with, Sandy Roberts was going, It's been a tough night for Big Jeff Brown. He was calling me Jeff Brown. So not only did I not get a kick, Sandals, who probably called about 30 grand finals, he's calling me Big Jeff Brown.
I will get Tommy to find that and we'll play that. That is amusing.
Shit.
Whack them on again. Whack them on again because we get to round 7 versus the Hawks. So you kept your spot in the team off the back of your tackle pressure, did you?
No, round 18.
Oh, yeah, so this is round 18, but this is your 7th game.
Yeah.
Here we go. You haven't kicked an AFL goal at this stage.
That's his 8th mark. Runs himself into a bit of trouble, though. Johnson got a bit of a kind bounce. Taylor off the ground. Power takes the mark, called to play on. No mark
Lukey
there.
Power's got on half back.
Clark. Now Clark's got Headland running for him if he can spot him. Whoops, he went a bit close to the man coming at him, but now Headland. He's got a bit of space.
Matty Campbell calling.
One-on-one Lepage.
Is that
Des Headland? Played in the Premiership, nearly won a Brownlow.
And he does.
Oh, look at that.
And it's a massive one-on-one body on Shane Crawford.
Low-hanging fruit, it's fair to say.
And Bossie's obviously said, go back and kick your goal.
Off the ground.
Go back and kick it, son. You've been terrible in your first 8 games. I can't believe I played as a forward. I can't believe it took me 8 games to get a goal.
I thought you must have started in the back line, to be fair.
No, I got dropped. I reckon I got dropped 3 or 4 times.
Well, let's have a look at your kick first. Run us through. This is your first of many AFL guys. Look at this. Daniel Chick in the background looking on.
Your arms would be thicker than mine at this stage.
For Jonathan Brown. It'll be his first goal in his career. There it is.
Finally.
And there it is.
Finally.
So you've been in and out of the team a bit at that point.
I reckon I was dropped 3 or 4 times in my first year. I might have played about a dozen games.
Surely your tackle pressure from the first game
kept me in. It actually kept me in and then I played the second week against St Kilda.
So after your one tackle effort,
Lee kept me in.
He's a good man.
God. I thought it was career over. I thought one game, one and done, back to Warrnambool, back to South Warrnambool. Thank God he kept me in there, but I was starting to have nightmares because it took me about half an hour to get a touch in my second game against St Kilda,
right?
Including getting put into the ruck and rucking against Damien Monkhurst, who put his knee through what felt like through my rib cage and back out the other side. And I lied I don't think I breathed for about 5 minutes. I lied in the middle of Marvel Stadium thinking, what am I doing out here? I need a career change. So anyway, I got a touch and it was a tough first year, but fortunate enough, I didn't give it away. I just managed to hang in there, and it's amazing how things turn around because...
Well, they do. So 2001... So that was 2/3 of a season ago. 2001, you play every game.
Yeah.
Round 6 versus Geelong, you kicked a bag of 7.
Yeah.
You kick 38 goals. You win 15 straight going into the grand final.
Yes.
Where you trail at halftime to Essendon 54-40. But within no time, you're playing in an AFL grand final.
It's amazing. Yeah, I went home for the pre-season and I thought, what do I want to be? Do I actually want to make it or just make it as a footballer, be a bit part player? So I went home and trained with a mate for...
What did you do? Just up the physical...
Yeah, some torrid boxing sessions especially. I loved me boxing growing up, so it was just a way to get fitter and sort of took myself to a level where I thought I couldn't go. And I came back a different athlete and was prepared and was ready to take the opportunity. And
there's something in that, isn't there? Hard work.
There is. And I thought, you know what? I'm at least going to have no regrets because I'll outwork the next bloke. I mightn't be the best athlete and obviously not going to be the quickest, but I'll always be able to outwork my opponent. And I thought that can be what I can hang my hat on. And Richard Champion had played a bit of centre-half forward, but we really didn't have a centre-half forward. And Lee grabbed me in the middle of the back end of the pre-season and said, mate, you're my centre-half forward. And I was like, geez, he'd obviously seen my determination to get fitter and turn things around and embrace the opportunity. And I'm glad I was ready for the opportunity, and I prepared for it and went and played every game that season. And we won a premiership. It's amazing how quickly things happen because 12 months earlier, I'm sitting on mum's couch watching the grand final, watching James Hird hold the premiership cup up. I'm sitting back in just a little place outside of Warrnambool and thinking, geez, I'm a million a mile. It's a dream, but I can't even imagine this turning into reality. 12 months later, I'm the one standing on the premiership days.
And what's your main memory of that premiership?
The siren with Lynchy holding the ball and just complete euphoria. And it's hard to describe, really. But the actual game itself.
Well, so you're down at half time, which I wouldn't have thought back to. What did I say there? You were down 54-40 at half time.
The game was, it's funny, isn't it? Like, I was so calm in the lead up. It's pretty surreal because the whole week, Ansett had just gone bust. We had to get a private jet to fly down. Still on the Wednesday of grand final week, still talked we might have to catch the train. Catch the train from Brisbane, the overnight express. So, my old mate Possum, my old roommate, and the overnight express. So,
have some prep if that happened.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because Ansett went bust, and obviously Qantas had no planes left. And I think it was Flight West gave us one of their planes. So it was pretty amazing. It felt like rock stars turning up onto the tarmac at Melbourne Airport and then going through the airport. And there was a lot of media there on the Thursday and go through the grand final parade. And then the morning of the game, the police escorts down. We stayed on St Kilda Road and the bus has got the motorbike, 4 or 5 motorbikes around it, leading us down the tram lines of St Kilda Road, down to Flinders Street, turn right at Federation Square, head along, and you see all the colours. And there was a lot of Fitzroy colours and Brisbane Lions colours. We're playing Essendon, of course, and you head down towards Brunton Avenue and into the MCG. And it was pretty surreal. I'm 19 years old going, this is amazing. These people are all going to watch us.
And you mentioned your dad was a fire and brimstone man.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about Lee, but what's Lee saying to a group before a ground? Is he a fire and brimstone or is he how's he roll?
Well,
because he is this mythical figure, isn't he? Possibly the greatest player of all time and up there with the greatest coach of all time.
He is a mythical figure.
Yeah.
And he was, they try. We'll talk about Lee, and I'm so glad I got the relationship I have with Lee. I class him as a friend, almost like a father figure as well. But so that occasion, I think that 15 games earlier, I think before we beat Essendon that 15, 16 games ago, the famous Predator game when he played the scene from Predator of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Do you remember him doing that?
I do. It was amazing because I walked into a room with a guy with hope. And a team with hope, and walked out 45 minutes later, a team with belief. And that showed the power of the man because he did a very simple thing. He showed us the Arnold Schwarzenegger clip from Predator where we're coming up against the great Essendon team. They were virtually unbeatable. And people were saying the greatest team we've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. And we walked in that room and he showed us this clip from the Predator. I'm thinking, how good's this? And it was the scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger and his men running through the South American jungle trying to kill the Predator, and they let go about 1 million rounds, and all these men feel defeated and they're deflated that they can't stop this Predator. And they said, what do we do now? We can't defeat this Predator. And he looks to the green droplets dropping off the tree branch, and he turns to it and points to it because that's the blood of the Predator. And he said, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And it was amazing. And it was, that's my best Austrian accent. It's not German.
It was good.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. And I was like, that was unbelievable. And then he puts the screen up, the movie was playing on, and there was a whiteboard behind it. And it was the list of all our players, and there was a list of all the Essendon players. And he had the games played beside them. You had Michael Voss against James Hird. They had similar games played. You boys had both won a Brownlow together. They won it together in 96. Lynchy, he was 200-odd games, went through our names against their names. Games played were all the same, virtually the same, virtually identical. He said, oh, boys, they're human. He said, or at least we're going to go out there tomorrow and we're going to see where they're human. And we're going to go out there tomorrow night. I'm going to see if they can bleed. He said, and I bet you they can. And that was the last message. And he sent out, and you walked out 45 minutes later, like I said, and you thought, shit. Because you're watching, you're looking at it and going, shit, actually, yeah, you're right. They're the same as us. And we went out there the next night and we won. And
it's put you on that path.
Put us on that path. It was belief. Belief is such a powerful tool. And I think 5 minutes in, Hirdy went off with the blood rule and all the boys yelling out, they're fucking bleeding, boys. They're fucking bleeding. So anyway, 15 weeks later, the return match against the grand final. But I guess we take it for granted what happens behind the scenes. But Lee become big on from that Essendon game. I think he showed us highlights clips of how good things we'd done the previous week or previous few games, and that continued on because Lee was very superstitious. So that we won against Essendon. So all of a sudden the video bloke, he had to put together this bloody video package every week. And so all of a sudden he had about an extra 15 hours work. But grand final, still remembered, he got us in the rooms. He always have the meeting about 90 minutes before we run out and go through it very calm, very cool. And then he would finish with the highlights reel. And this one was The Dream with John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John, which was The Dream was the song for the Olympics.
The Olympics, yeah.
The Dream.
Yeah. It was.
And he put that to our highlights of the season and the good things. And it was all team things. And it just filled you with so much belief and love for your teammates and a clear picture of what you need to do to go out on this day. But a unique thing happened. We went out and we did our warm-up and all that, and clearly we were, stressed and anxious about the big thing, but he grabbed us at the top of the race. As the door opened up, we're just about to walk down the tunnel, 95,000 people at the MCG, the crowd noise, the atmosphere is about to consume you. He grabs us all together, and he could probably sense that we needed a bit of a pressure release, and he got us all together, and he never did this. He said, boys, I don't care what happens today. He said, I'm so proud of what you guys have done to get to this point that I'm just proud to be a part of yous and I love yous. Away you go. That's what he said. The game is yours. He used to often say, well, the day is yours. And away we went down. And it was just that sort of pressure release. It was just like bang. It was like you're sending these kids out to go and play. And you felt like a 12-year-old. And then we went down, out the banner, the crowd noise. It's hard to describe that feeling, just the energy. Like your feet don't touch the ground for the first 15 minutes. But that was unique. And that was what happened pre-game. And you thought, geez, Lee just lowered those barriers because a hard man, a mythical figure like you said.
He's telling you he loves you.
But he just opened up and I thought, geez, it made you feel good.
So I was this is one of my first real introductions to to football and broadcasting. I was working for Channel 7, who had the rights, and we had a show called Sports World, which is on the Sunday with Joanna Griggs, and we would have Dermot or Paul Salmon or whoever. And I was with the first cameraman that I really worked with that taught me so much about pieces to camera stuff, a chap by the name of Laz Talecki. And I reckon Neil Kearney, who taught me a lot, he'd spent some time with the Scots' mum.
Yeah.
On grand final morning.
Yeah.
And the backstory of their father was no longer with them. And then we had to go on grand final day with access all areas to shoot behind the scenes of the Lions' day so they could put together this story of Mrs. Scott and her sons.
Yeah.
And so I was there holding like one of those boom microphones as Laz was shooting Vossi speaking to you guys in the final huddle on the ground. And I remember I couldn't believe I was out in the middle of the MCG. I'm 5 metres away from the huddle with me big boom mic dropping it in there. And I remember thinking this will be inspirational and magnificent and tactics. And it was no different to watching Jeff Cunningham, who coached Traralgon, where I was from Maroons. It was just F-bombs everywhere and basically, boys, we're bigger, stronger, let's go and fuck them up.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
That's right,
but
amazing.
It was just any other game of football.
Yeah.
But it was professional athletes on grand final day.
And
that stuck with me.
I coached the under-15 girls back home.
You need to be a bit more careful there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I do have to be a bit more careful, but I did say to the girls, like finals footy, it doesn't matter what level you play. It's still the same feeling. Whether it be in front of 95,000 people or whether it be community football, it's the same feeling that you're there. You've been given the opportunity or you've earned your opportunity to have a crack, and that's what you do it for. That's what you play competitive sport for. And that's right. If you actually lift the curtain, not a lot changes.
No, not a lot changes.
Not a lot, and like I said to you about Lee was very predictable. He went through, he wanted us to be predictable to each other, so he followed the same formula pre-game. It wasn't reinventing the wheel, certainly not on grand final day. It was just about going out, playing your role for the team. He had a saying, know your role, accept your role, perform your role. And that was our motto. And nothing changed from that, you know. And I guess that's why we become great teams in big games and in grand finals, because we didn't try and get ahead of ourselves as individuals and didn't try and go over and above. Yes, there was moments that required it, but we didn't go out with that mentality. And I think that's why we were able to survive and cope with the pressure numerous times.
Some athletes come in who've had so much success, like Kelly Slater. I can't talk to him about all bloody his 11 world titles, so I can't go in depth about all 3 premierships with you. But I want to ask you about one moment in the second premiership when you're against the Pies for the first time. But let's whack this on, because I want to show you, like, people have, you know, defining moments in their career that stand out. Like we saw Wangani Mira last week. That's what he'll be always remembered for. I think this mark is something you will always be remembered for. So it's Hawthorn versus Brisbane.
Huge chance to take it out. So Loney Voss missed it. Through the traffic, Shattuck won that ball, and in long we go. Oh, Brown! What a man, he's unbelievable.
So you're coming back with a fly.
Beauty! That is unbelievable.
And the commentators talk about it's unbelievable, etc. But you're coming back with the flight. It's that classic mark. At that stage, it's just another mark you're taking in football. But as time passes, if anyone thinks Jonathan Brown, you don't realise that this time.
Yeah.
But that's probably what you're remembered for. And it goes on, you know, you won the Robert Rose for most courageous numerous times. Like, to me, that's Jonathan Brown. Running back with a flight, no care for his own safety, taking a mark to help his team.
Yeah, it's funny though, because it was hard. Like, there was always a challenge, like, if you had to go for those marks. And I sort of playing the position centre forward more often than not. And I grew up pretty much as a centre forward, and playing forward's a very instinctive position. So it's challenging if you didn't grow up playing forward, because a lot of it ends up in broken play and reading the play ahead. So it becomes innate through years and years of practice, I guess, without actually knowing you're doing it. But part of the centre forward role was you were caught in between a lot, and quite often those balls would go over your head and you'd have to go, shit, do I go here or do I not go? And then also growing up watching, you know, Dermott, Sticks, you know, Carey was probably the most influential of my upbringing in the 90s, and Duck would do that more often than not. And so I guess in those situations you had to make that decision, didn't you? So I did get in those situations at times, and I thought I was calculated enough, especially early in my career. I thought late in my career it crossed over into being a bit reckless or desperate. Probably as your form starts to wane and you start losing your body. But early on, there was always a decision you had to make, but you had to make a decision nonetheless, and it was bloody scary.
Yeah, I bet it was.
So you're not running back there, you know, mindless. You think, shit, there's a chance I could get hurt here, but it's a bit like the plane. I think when they get to a certain point on the runway, the captain needs to go, if I have to pull out, I've got to either stop now or go. And once you sort of get past the point of no return, I was at that stage like that where you go, shit, I'm at that point where, right, I've made the call now. Now I've got to fully commit with mind, body and soul, 110%. Otherwise, you're going to get hurt. And I guess I was able to build good habits in that regard that sort of got me through safely in most of those situations. And Lynchy looked after me a little bit as well, because he was a powerful bastard. If Lynchy had fully committed, I would have been in all sorts.
The next grand final, 2002, you beat Collingwood in a classic, 75-66.
I forgot my boots that day.
That grand final?
Grand final. So one of my girls, I reference my girls, but one of my girls forgot her boots the other day for a cutthroat final. Now, she was all anxious and worried that I was going to get mad at her. I said, sweetheart, doesn't matter. Her name, I said, her name's Tamika, she won't mind me saying. I said, don't worry, sweetheart, I forgot my boots in front of 100,000 people.
You forgot them on grand final day?
Yeah, well, the boot stutter.
Oh, hang on.
I'm going to pass blame a little bit here.
What's his name?
Hawkey.
Old Hawkey's dropped the ball, has he?
Boot starter property steward, a great man. He didn't pack my wet weather boots. Now, we get to the ground. It's 8 degrees and pissing rain. It's been a terrible weekend.
Come on, Hawkey.
I went up to Hawkey. I goes, I'm going to need the wet weather boots today. Mate, goes through the bag. They're not in there. He's forgotten the boots. Size, what were they? Size 13 Supernova Adidas. It was an Adidas me and my
With the long stoppers.
Long stoppers. But I knew. My good mate, Justin Lepage, I knew Leper wore the same boots. And I knew they were his backup pair. So I went up to Leper. I said, "Are you wearing your wet weather boots?" He goes, "Nah, I'm going with the others, the moulded soles." I've gone perfect. I said to Hawkey, I said, "I'm having Leper's boots." So can you believe it? I'm running at grand final day wearing Leper's boots and get to quarter time. People are slipping and sliding all over the field, including Leper, who comes up to me at quarter time. He goes, are you planning on continuing to wear my boots? And I go, fucking oath I am. I said, I've seen the way you slipped over in the first quarter. So to his credit, Leper sort of, he took off. I kept his boots on and played the game out in Leper's boots. And we won by 9 points, thank Christ. I don't think Leper would ever spoke to me again if we had got beaten.
And there's so much talk about Jason Ackermanis.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into that. Those stories have been told, and that's not really what we're about. But I think we showed the defining moment in many people's eyes of your career, certainly the defining moment of his career. And if someone says to me, "Oh, what's the memory that sticks out for you in the Brisbane Lions three-peat?" It's that goal from Acker. And Lee was here, and we played him the audio of saying, "Tell Acker to get front and centre." These things become legendary, but based on truth.
Well, that one is because the audio's there.
It's there
for everyone. It was amazing, and I'm not sure. Like Lee is obviously the one that said it, but a couple of the assistant coaches up the back of the box.
Who did he credit? Gary O'Donnell, maybe.
Gary O'Donnell had said it, but I think it might have originated from the back of the box, and Craig Britton or
was it
Craig Lambert?
Right,
the two of them sat up the back there. So I think it might have, via osmosis, gradually worked its way into Lee's head after about 3 or 4 mentions. Anyway, Lee got Acker got front. The message went out, and Acker got front and centre, and the rest is history. And that game, well, Lynchy kicked an important goal. Acker got front and centre, and Vossi took that amazing mark.
Yeah,
because not to get too deep into it, but we were the underdogs in 2001. We got over Essendon, but we were massive favourites in 2002, and it's a different kind of pressure. Like, we didn't play freely that day. It was tough conditions, and Collingwood played well and probably didn't take their opportunities in the third quarter to keep us in it, and we did. And eventually we got over the line, but geez, it would have been a massive upset if they had beaten us. But those games, and quite often big games, that's why moments become legendary, don't they? With every team that won it over the years, whether it be Dermy's '89 grand final, we've seen Hodgie's kiss on Buddy. I think Malcheski's goal in 2012.
Tom Boyd with Brian Taylor's commentary.
That's right. Leo Barry. U-Star.
They're such big moments, aren't they?
They're iconic moments, and that's why moments, if you're there and you're ready to take that opportunity, you can become legendary in those moments, and that's what those boys did.
So you win again the next year. So you've won 3 as a young man, and then I guess, 2007 you kicked 77 goals, 2008 you 70 goals, 2009 85 goals. So you're at your best. I want to ask you about playing for Victoria, but I want to show you, and I don't say this lightly, obviously you had we talked about running back with a flight, had some horrible injuries in your career. I guess, again, this one with Luke McFarlane is, well, it's not the beginning of the end, but this is a horrible thing to see.
Helped.
Well, yeah, this is a horrible thing to see on the football field. This is Brisbane versus Fremantle.
Buchanan's kept going. Rich wants Brown.
Oh, yeah. Too good. What got collected.
Almost seemed innocuous, didn't it?
Yeah, so you just dropped down for a mark, and McFarlane's his knee coming the other way has just collected you in your face, and it's a bloody nightmare. It's hard to look back at, really.
Yeah, it was. And the worst part is I wasn't actually concussed or knocked out. So,
that's what MJ was showing to me today. He said, I can't believe that didn't knock him out.
Yeah, well, and I wish I had been, because it was excruciating.
What had it done?
Well,
so it was pain straight away?
It wasn't pain straight away, but I'd caved my face in, so I knew the feeling. I put my tongue sort of into the crevice of my jawbone, I guess. I thought this is, I'm in a lot of damage, but I've had a lot of damage there. But yeah, it was frustrating because I copped a bit of flack with that, and I got called reckless and careless. Because subsequently I came back 12, 14 weeks later, which was a great achievement. I was proud of that achievement to get back. But then I had another injury again at the end of the year where I was reckless, ran back of the flight of the ball. But
what was the initial injury? What was it in the end?
Well, the multiple breaks, so
what, through your jaw and the cheekbone?
Eye socket. Nearly went up into my skull. So I ended up with, now I've still got 15 plates and 64 screws in my face.
Have you really?
Yeah.
15 plates and 64 screws.
And a couple of those were from incidents afterwards, but the majority were from that incident. So, but I walked off the field off my own accord with the doctor, and then I got straight to the bench there at the Gabba, and then there's a tunnel underneath. You can walk in the tunnel underneath the grandstand, round to the rooms, and I got to the room, and the doctor said, "Come over here." And I said, "No, I'm not going." I walked straight down into the tunnel, and then walked around, and the doc's going, "Mate, what's wrong?" I go, I said, "Mate, I'm fucked. I've smashed my head in, smashed my jaw." And then by the time I got round to the rooms, the Dr. McConnell and Dr. Smith, by the time I got around to the rooms, I started to go into shock and started to feel like I'd been in a sauna with Mike Tyson and gone 15 rounds, and I was spewing up blood everywhere, and was just agitated. Like I was just, it's just hard to describe. I was like stuck in this sauna with Mike Tyson. I couldn't break out, and there was blood everywhere. And eventually they sent a paramedic around, a intensive care paramedic, to get me calmed down. And they gave me as much morphine as they can. I still remember the guy saying, "I can't give you any more morphine, otherwise we'll kill you." He said, "So we're going to have to give you Valium, Valium injected into your system." And so eventually that got me calmed down, and I knew I was in a bit of trouble, and rushed me off to hospital. And I got to the hospital, and they started doing scans, and I was blowing up a bit around my throat. And they said, "Right, now you're off to the trauma hospital. We're moving you because your airways are starting to close." Because I'd also fractured my hyoid bone somehow as part of the knee, which is the bone that essentially protects your Adam's apple, or your vocal cords, I think. And next minute I'm in the back of the ambulance, and the paramedics are discussing doing a tracheotomy on me if my airways close on the drive to the hospital.
In the back of the ambulance.
Yeah. And I'm like, you realise I'm awake, I can hear everything you're saying. So that was pretty scary. It was a pretty scary moment. So, that's what come about. Yeah. So I was in a bloody shitload of pain.
Does anything stay with you today apart from the physical components you've got in your face?
It did take me a long time to get back. Not really. From time to time, I get achy during the really hot weather up in Queensland, living up there the summers.
You got all feeling and everything? Like they've obviously done an amazing job.
I lost a fair bit of feeling around the base of the jaw. But I was pretty lucky, and the surgeon said to me when he came in, the team of surgeons said, "Look, we'll get to you, but don't worry, we'll restore everything. We'll restore you good looks." And my wife Kylie was sitting there and said, "Any chance you could, I think he just needs a little bit of a nip and tuck. I reckon he needs an eye lift. Can you just put an extra...
Sharpen up the cheekbones
sharpen
a
up
bit?"
And then I said, I don't care. At that stage, because my mouth was buggered, I had a lisp. So I was talking like this. I'm going, "I don't care what you do about my looks, but whatever you do, can you at least fix this fucking lisp up?" So I thought I was consigned to have a lisp for the rest of my life. Remember Kenny Callender?
Yeah, I do.
Kenny Callender on Wide World of Sports. So they said, "Don't worry, we'll fix the lisp."
I worked once with Kenny Callender on a Melbourne Cup carnival, and I'll never forget it. It would have been Channel 10, so I reckon Peter Donegan threw down to him. Yeah. And the first thing he said, "Can you believe it? Firth Wraith. 55th the one, the horse, Thatherfrath." Had us in absolute stitches.
Unbelievable.
So
that was that.
Why do you retire, and what's the plan?
So I came back, and I was proud that I came back, but it certainly made it really difficult to get back. And I had a shocking concussion probably 6 months later, and really struggled to get back from that. And then physically, I just kept breaking down with all these little injuries, and it was just the wear and tear of carrying around the 105 kilos and those playing the position.
Yes.
The hard games, those hard final series. And, so I was probably, like a lot of our boys, I was probably cooked at 29, 30. It's pretty young in these days, isn't it, the way players are playing. So last concussion, close mate, Paul McConnell was one of our club doctors, and he said, mate, I can't let you keep playing. And he said, I saw the way you got hit the last one. And I didn't have a huge amount of concussions, but I saw the way you got hit the last one. You had your bell rung, and it just happened all too easy. And he said, I'm not going to clear you. And, mate, I had a blue with him in the doctor's surgery, and we went and had a coffee, and I was still filthy because your dream's about to get finished, I suppose. Your dream's about to finish, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've grown up as a little kid all the way through, and you don't want it to end. And you're not really prepared because you think footy's going to last forever when you come through, and you still think you're a young man. You're going to be internally young. So when it gets put on you, hey, mate, I'm not going to clear you to play. And so there's your death sentence right there. Because if your club doctor's not going to clear you,
Yeah.
no one else is going to clear you. But the thing that is that he's a good mate of mine. He went to your wedding. He's the doctor of our kids. So he said, I want you to go home for a week or so and just clear your head. And probably a week later, you're still feeling a bit crook and all that, but we were living on a property at that stage, and I was walking out with my little Liv. Liv would have been maybe 3 or 4 years old, and I said, Liv, do you reckon Dad can keep playing footy? And she said, no, Dad. She said, I just want you to stay home and kick the footy with me.
Huh.
And it sort of, it brings a tear to your eye, but it puts it into perspective. You go, the time now is for family. And I've been lucky. I've had a lucky career, a fortunate career. Yes, I copped some injuries late, but I've got a beautiful little daughter that wants to kick the footy with me out in the paddock. I thought, you're right. The people around you love you. They just want the best for you. And I suppose I fell on my sword. So I rang Leper up and I said, mate, he was coaching at the time, Leper, a good mate of mine. I said, mate, I'm going to have to hang him up. And that was it.
Were you hanging up your boots or his boots?
Yeah, that's right. We hung them both up. It was because I lived with Leper's sister and lived in Leper's house when I first got to Brisbane. So the circle of life. And I'd met with a couple before. Lee had a coffee with me. Well, Lee reached out, and Lee wasn't connected with the club at that stage. He wasn't on the board. But before I'd made the decision, Lee rang me and said, I want to have a coffee with you. And he sort of just pondered whether it was worth keeping going. And I thought, you add all those things up, I think it might be time to hang them up.
So you end up in the media.
Yeah.
Breakfast radio with Chrissy and Sam Pang. How long did you do that for?
7 years.
Highly successful show. What's the key to turning up for 3 hours a day at that time of the morning, 5 days a week? Like, I know we do 3 hours on the Friday huddle now, once a week. And it gets to this stage of the year. We had a meeting before this with you. It's like, all right, we've already done this, we've already done that, we've already done this. Like, where are we going for the rest of the season? Where you got to do 15 hours a week at that time of the morning. Big gig.
You think we did over 1,000 shows.
Yeah, it's a lot of content.
Yeah, it is. And so disposable, the content. It just passed you by. We all listen to radio. And we were, and we didn't know each other before it. I had a feed with Pang last night. He's one of my best mates. Chrissy, I love her to death. She still gives me meals, frozen meals that when I'm here in Melbourne on my own, I still throw them in the microwave.
Does she?
She's an unbelievable cook.
What a legend.
And Dino, of course, as well, who was a huge part of the show. So, and we just had a great chemistry, and we loved each other's company. Don't hit snooze on the alarm.
What time would your alarm go?
Well, I used to get up at sort of 4:30, which is not too bad. But in Melbourne, the winters, it's hard.
It's early.
It's hard. When I got a bit obsessive about the running, I was getting up sometimes and training before
the 4:30.
Before the 4:30. So we would train, and then during COVID, we were allowed to go to work. So Pengy and Dino and myself started to get a bit obsessive. So we would turn up before the workout. Before radio, we'd do our workouts in the car park.
Wow.
Which was a bit of fun. But yeah, it was, but it's pretty demanding. And I guess you're just trying to cover so much ground and so much content. But we love to write a bit of stuff and come up with some creative ideas. But so great memories. But the only reason I was in it, and I'm fortunate enough, I had good advice from a boss in Brisbane earlier. I'd worked with Nova throughout my playing career for about 10 years. And guy Jay Walkinen he kept encouraging me to do more and more. And I would do more shifts and fill in holidays for the guys, the Brekkie team when they were away. And then he grabbed me one day and I was still playing footy. He said, righto, what are you going to do with your life after footy? I said, I'll just go into coaching. And stereotypical, coaching and favourite movie, Shawshank Redemption. That's what footballers do.
Teach the player profile and Howie Games.
That's right.
You did choose something different for that very reason.
I did, exactly. It was heat, I think it was.
It was.
Anyway, he said, you know what? He said, I want you to give the radio a go. You're going to do a Saturday morning show while I was playing, and I want you to give it a crack for 12 months. And if you get to the end of the 12 months you don't like it, he said, you can tell me to piss off and you go and do your coaching, but at least give it 12 months, see you like. And I loved it. I got to the end of it and loved it because he actually did say, he said, if you love it and you want to do it and embrace it, he said, I reckon you'll be doing Brekkie Radio in Melbourne in a few years' time. And I was in Brisbane at that stage and bugging me dead. I was doing Brekkie Radio with 3 people I'd never met in my life.
And it was tremendously successful. And then at the same time, you're rolling with Fox.
Yeah.
When you get to the footy, who do you sit next to? Like you mentioned Lynchy.
Yeah.
Do you sit next to any of these, the Derms or the Garys and think...
Big dogs.
Yeah, gee, I can't believe I'm sitting here.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Who is it for you? Like for me, it's Jason. Growing up as a Hawthorn fan, and I sit next to Jason, on a game a weekend and on the radio on a Friday night, and I think, oh my goodness, that's
they're amazing, aren't they?
I haven't got any autograph stories with Jason because he never signed them.
That's right.
But you would, you've had yours with Lynchy.
He was, like Chief and Chief and Derm, and Derm played the position and he obviously was. I revered him, growing up and, and the way he went about it, he's such a unique personality, isn't he? So
did you get your strut from Dermot?
Yeah. Dermot into Duck, so fair combination. But it was, especially early days, you do have those pinch me moments a little bit. So I remember Dermy taking me to I think when I was still playing, took me to a party grand final day. I wasn't playing in the grand final, but go on, young fella, I'm taking you to this party after the grand final. I go, shit, it's pretty cool. I'm rolling with Dermot Browny. So, geez, they're just great blokes, aren't they? The Fox guys, they're so down to earth.
Yeah, good people.
They're good people. They are really good people.
You described to me, so you did on the couch last night, and you flew down from Brisbane, and we'd done Brisbane Hawthorn the night before, and you said you watched the game behind the goals vision so you could get a better look at it. So that shows you the effort you're putting into it. You're not just turning up and, this is what's going to happen. So how much work do you put into it, and what do you reckon the key in your job is to explain football, modern football, to the punters at home sitting on the couch?
I sort of always, Mike Sheen gave me great advice, and Mike was a very good mentor early days. So I took over Mike's seat on the couch, and it was great to have him back a few weeks ago when I was over covering the boxing in Las Vegas. Mike was in my chair, and I walked into the Qantas lounge in LAX airport, and the couch was on.
Oh, was it?
It was on TV, and there's Mike sitting in my seat.
In the Qantas Club in LA?
Yeah, I thought, geez, there it is. You come full circle. I took over Mike's seat, and then Mike's back in my seat. And, so that was great to see. But Mike gave me the advice, never forget. He said, don't stray too far from. The conversation is, you and 2 or 3 of your mates sitting in the pub talking about footy. He said, as soon as you veer too much from that, he said, that's when you'll lose the audience. And I've always took that advice on board. and try to stay authentic in that regard. And then my father-in-law, Billy, he watches it a fair bit, and obviously my old man, but Billy sends the odd text through, hey, yeah, losing me here, or we're getting too much into the numbers or the stats, whatever it may be. So I think that's the important thing, is just to be explained in simple terms. I think you do that really well. So I think that's the key to it, because not everyone's got the benefit, or very few people have got the benefit of being behind the scenes, talking to analysts, talking to stats people, talking to people and coaches within the industry about the terminology of the game and the way that's gone about it. Like, they're just sitting on the couch supporting their favourite team at home. So if you get too complicated about, you can lose people. And at the end of the day, it's still football, isn't it? It's still football. And Lee Matthews is the best. He's the best at it. He's still so pragmatic, he's so logical, and he simplifies everything. And Lee's been a great player, great coach, and one of the greatest commentators we've had, or special comments man, hasn't he? Because that's what he does.
We did a game, the first game I did with him was this year, with you and Lynchy and Matty Hill in Brisbane. And I was in the Qantas Club with Hilly on the way up saying, and we were like, wow, I can't believe we're going to do a game of football with Lee Matthews. Yeah. And throughout the night, he just said about 3 20-word sentences. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't understand that. So he is very, very,
he's so
very
efficient with his words. I had a laugh the other night because I said to him, he's been coming down the couch this year once every month, which has been great, and he's loving it. But I said to him, mate, we can get home on the Monday night if you want. I said, I'll go back to Brisbane with you if you want. I live on the Gold Coast, he's in Brisbane, because there's a late flight. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I'll be up for that. I said, I'll tell you what, after the show, I'll drive you out to the airport and then we'll jump the plane and fly home. So anyway, the boys were riveting us on the way home, said, right, what are the seats? And I thought, I'm going to wait till I get to the airport and just check in. And Lee leads over as we checked in. As we go through security, he goes, what seat are you in, Browny? And I said, 1A.
What was he in?
It was only one seat, mate. No. It was across the aisle. So, mate, I had a bit of fun about that. And, it was funny. I don't think the plane had taken off. It was a big day for the old boy. He was like, he was catching butterflies.
Talking about seat 1A, due to your boxing background, as you explained, I won't take up too much more of your time. Just give me a brief rundown of what happened when Fox decided they were going to send you in the nice part of the plane all the way around the world to interview one of the greatest combat athletes of all time, Conor McGregor. So I remember seeing the email, Browny's going to do this, he's going to send back this, we can play a bit in the footy. It's the lead up to the this is and we've got the right man for the job because he's relatable, he understands combat sports. We're going to send Browny and our man Joe Bromham, who does a fantastic job. So you're going to, and it was billed to me as like Michael Parkinson one-on-one with Conor McGregor.
Well, that's the way it was billed to me as well.
And what happened?
Well, what happened was, and I jumped at the opportunity, and
as you would,
a week away from the family in the middle of footy season.
Yes, to Ireland in summer.
To Ireland in summer. Never been to Europe. Up the sharp end of the plane, because at that stage, Europe in summer, there was no seats left. So
you had to fly right up the front end.
Not only were we turning. What is it? No,
left.
We were left. I know we turning left. It was left and then down the stairs.
So we've passed business and we've gone on to, I don't know what's past business, but apparently there's another class.
So this is costing
the company a fair old whack, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Because Brownie's getting an exclusive with Conor McGregor.
In his own gym. Perfect. It's going to be amazing.
Perfect.
So, plane, got a little bit nervous. Me and Joey are sitting in the first class lounge in Sydney Airport.
And that's where there's not a menu. You can just say, can I please have some of that thing?
And Jesus, some good stuff on the top shelf as well.
I bet there was.
And then just gradually the thing started ticking over. Flight delayed, flight delayed, flight delayed. Curfew at Sydney Airport, flight cancelled, 11 p.m. All of a sudden now, I realised very quickly there's no classes when it comes to a free for all in the hallway in the departures lounge of like, right, what are we doing? So you trying to get a next flight, try and get accommodation.
You can't just hold up. I'm travelling first class with after me sign.
No, that doesn't, mate. Line up with the rest of the 500 people that are going to be on that flight. So me and Joey have to stay at Sydney Airport. We eventually get on 2 separate flights, one through Singapore, one through Kuala Lumpur. we meet up in Heathrow.
Are you still flying first?
There's a little bit of that as well.
Okay,
There's no seats left.
It's a big cost expenditure, but that's okay.
We get then Heathrow Airport to Dublin. Get to Dublin Airport. They've lost me luggage. Lost 53 hours later. I walked out of home. Cole's giving me a kiss goodbye. Gold Coast, Sydney, Singapore, Heathrow, Dublin.
No luggage.
Get to the thing. No luggage. It's got all my gear. I want to look sharp for Conor McGregor.
For your one-on-one Michael Parkinson.
I've got the Brisbane Lions jumper in my luggage.
To present to him?
Present it with McGregor on the back of it.
Perfect.
I thought, this is going to be a bit of a problem. So 53 hours later, but we're still there before the interview. We go home, have a shower. Me and Joey go and have a feed. Righto, how are we going to go about the interview the next day? Okay, brought a Sharon with me as well. Hopefully that's in the luggage if they do find it. Wake up the next morning, day of the interview, going, how good? They found me luggage. Beautiful. We'll go out to Dublin Airport, get the luggage, get the shirt, come back, iron the shirt so I'm looking sharp for Connor. Get the footy, get the jumper.
Get the exclusive.
Get the exclusive. Got an hour to kill. Let's go to Croke Park and watch the hurling. This will be fantastic. So me and Joey sit there. No beers, of course. Got to be professional before the interview. Big interview. Out of the hurling, into the taxi. Start to get a bit nervous when say to the copper, how do we get a taxi up there? What are you boys here from Australia for to interview Conor McGregor? She says, what are you here? What would you go? Why would you fly halfway around the world to interview that prick for? I'm going, oh, okay. So not as warm as I thought it was going to be for a national treasure.
So you thought you were walking into like you were at the Gabba, like people were just, he's the greatest of greats.
That's right.
But that's not the feedback you're getting.
She wasn't that impressed with the fact that we were interviewing Conor McGregor. On the way to his gym, Joey gets the email, not even a call, interview cancelled. Conor McGregor has pulled out of all interviews. However, Dana White's still coming over.
Oh, fantastic.
And Michael Chandler, who he's fighting the next day, hopefully the press conference will still be on the next day.
Michael Chandler? Who's Michael Chandler?
Michael Chandler. But I'm thinking, Dana White, okay, we might be able to salvage something. So we go.
So you didn't even get a call, you got an email to say Connor's out.
Email, exactly. We get to... we thought, right, me and Joey, what are we going to do? We go to his pub, the Forge Inn, and Conor McGregor said, fucking, we're going to go and find him. We're going to turn up to his pub.
We're just going to roll in.
We're going to roll in.
Current affair style.
Current affair style. Benny Fordham chasing people across the road. So we roll into is the Black Forge? Yeah, the Forge Inn. And anyway, in we go. The bar girl behind the jump comes up, lovely Irish lady, and said, what are you boys? We get a couple of... his stouts, because he's got the stouts here. It's not Guinness. He's got his own stout.
Right.
And I said, what are you boys here from Australia? Oh, we're here to interview Conor McGregor, and he's just pulled out of an interview. Any chance that he's around? And she said to us, wow. And mind you, this was supposedly 10 weeks out from the fight or 12 weeks out. I think he's going to be in heavy training. Well, if you hang around long enough, you might run into him. Why is that? And she goes, because he's been in here sitting at the bar all week.
Oh.
I thought, shit, not a good sign. So I'm not sure a fight's going ahead. So anyway, we hung around. No Conor McGregor for the next 2 hours. Went and caught up with a mate at the Gravediggers pub, and then woke up the next morning and they said, press conference off, Dana White off, Michael Chandler off, Conor McGregor off, fight off. Me and Joey look at each other and go, well, we might as well fly home. We were in Dublin for less time, 48 hours, than what it took for us to get to Dublin, which was 53 hours.
And how did you sell it to the big chief, Steve Crawley?
Yeah.
Who's paid first-class fares, the works?
Well, I blame him. It was his fault. He was the one that sent me. So I think they might be still chasing the money from UFC as well. So that was a failed attempt. I can't believe they asked me to go and cover the Tim Tszyu fight.
Neither can I.
After the luck I brought. But I might be the bad luck charm because Tim got beaten.
One very quick question, then I have to let you go. Just give me a 1 minute of how did Robbie Williams end up on stage wearing your Brisbane Lions jumper?
Well, amazing. We were playing, I think it was 2007, 2008. One of the trainers knew his brother was the tour manager or something. Get to the training one day, he goes, what are you doing tomorrow night? No, nothing, and just go and have a feed after training. Robbie Williams and his band, they want to have a game of soccer against you boys. They always do it when they come on the road. I go, all right, if we tee up the Gabba, they'll put the lights on for us. Obviously no crowd. Boys will paint a little makeshift soccer field out in the Gabba little mini pitch.
Yeah.
Rustle up 8 or 10 of the boys, which wasn't hard to do.
Did you get the
Boys.
cricket crew in? Did you get the indoor cricket crew?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Was Possum still there?
Possum was there. He was dominating.
Still there.
Now, I had an injury, so I was out. I think it might have been about 2006. And Robbie had an injury as well. So Robbie turns up with a band, probably a dozen of the boys, a dozen of our boys.
At the Gabba.
At the Gabba.
With the lights on.
Tuesday night, lights on. I can't believe Kevy Mitchell, the curator, let us because he was pretty strict about things. They painted a little pitch for his band and the boys went at it. Now, I was injured, so I couldn't play. Robbie was injured as well. He'd hurt his toe. So Robbie goes, he said, I can't play. He goes, we'll just go and sit in the grandstand and watch him. No one around, an empty Gabba.
So you're just sitting there with Robbie Williams?
Me and Robbie, just the two of us, sitting there watching the boys play for about an hour, having a laugh, having a chat. I said, Jesus, mate, there was no smoking rules for the Gabba just for that one night. He went through about half a packet of gaspers. He said, don't worry. He said, I've been through everything in life. He said, I've still got one vice though. So and anyway, he was just fascinated by footy because he said as a kid growing up, they used to have the game of the week in London on TV as kids growing up.
Oh, that would have been hosted like by Rexy or something.
Yeah,
the international show.
And he said he was an Essendon supporter. And I was like, really? And now he's a Carlton supporter. But he wanted to go down and see the rooms and all that. So I took him down the locker and one of my game jerseys was hanging up. He goes, I reckon I could have that game jersey, could you? And I said, yeah, no worries. There you go. The 16 there, and you can tell because it's got the pocket for the GPS.
For the GPS.
System. And he said, are you coming to my concert? And he was playing 2 shows at Suncorp Stadium. I said, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming the second night. And so the next night was his first night. And me and Coles weren't going to that one. We were sitting at a pub having a steak. And then my phone starts lighting up. I go, Robbie's got your jumper on. I go, what the fuck's going on? So then I see the paper the next day. And this was before the days of phone videos and social media, so it doesn't get sent through. See the paper the next day, front page of the paper. There's Robbie Williams with my playing strip on. He plays the whole concert with me jumper on.
The whole thing?
The whole thing. He got a few boos because I don't think he realised that Suncorp Stadium, the home of the Brisbane Broncos, which is another code. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. So we had a good night a couple of nights later and then went and caught up with him afterwards, and he's a lovely fella. So now he's a big Carlton man.
He is. But now Deconing, if he leaves, maybe he'll end up at the same.
Yeah.
Browny, we always finish this the same way, and you've bloody been so good with your time and your stories as we knew you would be. You've had success now in media and in football, and you explained the value of hard work earlier on with that pre-season you did back at home. But for everyone that listens, I always try and give a different example. So for kids out there that want to be, let's say, an audio engineer or an airline pilot, not necessarily an athlete, from the experiences you've had, what advice would you pass on?
Well, I was running the other day. I trained with a heap of mainly rugby league boys up in the Gold Coast, and we train at 5 a.m. every morning. And
Do you?
Yeah, most of the mornings the boys turn up, and maybe I can't say every morning. I've been a bit slack a few times, but one of the boys turned up that he was closer to 70 than 40, let's put it that way. And we're doing runs to the gate and back. And I come up, I loomed up, I thought I'll go straight past him. And he kept up with me for this last 120 metres or so. And I got to the end of it, I said, mate, how old are you? And told me in his 60s. I said, what's the key? And he goes, he said, just turn up every day.
Huh.
Turn up every day to life. And I thought, geez, that's good advice, because he looked like he was about 30 and he was charging. I'm 43 and he was keeping up with me. But it's hard work, turning up, then working hard. And I guess just if you're interested in something, just pick the brains of people that have done it, and talk to people that have been experts in that field or pursued that interest, and just be a sponge, I reckon. And that's, I suppose, essentially I've always had a really open mind, been willing to learn with it all. So I think that's the attitude you need to have. I would say, and I think, mate, you've come from the similar path, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Like you started off as a lackey and just built your way through this industry.
Now I'm your lucky.
That's right. Well, you're more than that, mate.
You did get me a cup of tea the other day, which was kind of you.
It was. So it's simple advice. I know it is, but
it's good advice.
Yeah.
Last one, you coach the under 15 girls.
Yeah.
What number of them were aware when you're coaching that you're a 3-time AFL Premiership star?
Well, yeah, this has been one of my great challenges in life, and it's taught me patience.
Yes.
So I thought that my reputation would have preceded me with these 15-year-old girls.
Yes.
And it can be quite tricky because some nights 40 girls turn up, and there's me and one of the mums, Belinda. And so we've got our work cut out trying to handle these precocious 15-year-olds. I went for the pre-game speech. I tried to roll out before training the other night the Predator speech. If it bleeds, we can kill it. But I started with, girls, do we know the Predator movie? Not one girl put their hand up. I said, okay, let's just back it back and say, does anyone know Arnold Schwarzenegger? Not one hand went up. I thought, shit, I've lost them already. I can't go down that path. But I've got some credits now because a few weeks ago, we were playing away on the road up in Brisbane, and in the change rooms was a Brisbane Lions premiership poster.
And you were on it.
And I'm obviously sitting in the team lineup, and about 10 of the girls came up to me and go, Browny, we didn't realise you ever played footy before. Not any footy, AFL footy. I was a premiership player. So bloody listen to what I've got to say to you.
Well done.
So anyway, but that's been a great passion of mine, a great challenge.
Good on you, mate. Well done.
Good on you. Thanks for having me, Howie.
Beautifully done, mate.